Welcome to the Chefofx podcast.
All right, I'm dialed in.
No.
Okay, you can hear yourself. Everything's working. Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So yeah, basically what I do is waste people's time for 2 hours whenever they're willing to give up their time to speak with me.
I love it.
Yeah, I mean, like I have my interests, but what I've done recently is I've really based everything on whoever's sitting over there. So a lot of it is just whatever the other person feels comfortable with, and then I add on to that, a lot like an improvisation act.
Why do you do this? To get to know different people?
Yes.
And different stories?
Yeah, to know different people, to know different stories. But I know those are some of the reasons, but I think it's a conglomerate of reasons, most of which I don't know. Like, I think most of it is subconscious. Like the desire to want to interact with people. Yeah, I mean, I don't really know why. Mm-hmm. But I have, like I said, a very long history of my own. And a lot of those experiences that I've had have influenced me and wanting to get better at communicating. So
awesome. That's
a big thing. So, okay, so let me try to get you with some of it, the experience of me asking you some questions, okay? Again, it's not really an interview, it's more of a conversation, but these are kind of to get things started.
Okay.
What's going on with you today?
Today?
Yeah.
Well, I'm here from Washington, D.C.
Holy shit.
Yeah. I'm visiting my childhood friend, Marissa.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
You're not a Davis student.
I'm not. I go to GW.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is cool.
Yeah, my college experience is entirely different from this. I was in total shock when we biked up to the domes. And the fact that you guys live here, I mean, it's
in this dump.
In this like literally it's as if you're not really camping, but kind of camping year round.
Yeah. The dome's kind of is like a campsite in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it's so cool. I live in the middle of the city. So super busy, 3 blocks from the White House, crazy politics, right in the center of just constant rush and people running around everywhere. Yeah. So this is cool. But today, I don't know. It's been an okay day. I think. I'm having a nice time with my friend. I went to the Minute Clinic.
What is that?
Urgent care.
Yeah.
Because I thought I was sick.
Today?
Yeah, it turns out I'm just being dramatic.
What did you think you had?
I had a sore throat, so I thought I had tonsillitis, but I don't. I'm just dramatic. So.
Yeah. Does that happen often? You end up in the clinic because you thought you had some...
Kinda. Well, honestly, not as often as it used to. I used to be a crazy, total hypochondriac. But it's gone a lot better. But yeah, I don't know. Do you get what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying.
Always thinking you're sick and stuff.
Yeah, I haven't had that specifically, but
right.
I've had other kind of.
But you know what I'm
things.
talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. It's actually not all that uncommon.
Right. I think it's a huge part of OCD and stuff too. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it makes sense, I guess, but...
Anyhow, so what are you doing in GW, right? What are you studying? Why did you go there?
So, I'm studying psychology.
Oh, no.
I'm studying to be a counselor or a therapist of some sort. Mm-hmm. I'm really interested in... I love little kids, but I also really like people who struggle with addiction.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I know those are two totally separate routes. So I haven't yet figured out if I want to go the more addiction route or working with young kids with behavioral issues. But
yeah,
kind of right now it's general and I'll figure it out. But I don't know. I'm born and raised in the DC area. I actually went away to college. Okay. In New Orleans.
Okay.
And I came back because I was not ready for college.
For college or college in New Orleans specifically?
I actually love New Orleans. I think it's just, I wasn't ready for college. Okay. I just was too anxious and...
Too many visits to the ER. You thought you had a disease.
somewhat. No, but I just like wasn't there yet, you know?
Yeah.
I just wasn't there yet. So I came back and took a gap year and started over somewhere closer to home. But I'm glad I did because, you know, I felt so much guilt for a while about like not leaving the nest or whatever. But
Yeah, that's just normal dome stuff. That mosquito over there. Don't mind it. That's a part of the podcast.
Good.
It's the experience.
But I've met, at this point in my life, I've met so many people who push me in like ways that I thought I wasn't able to be pushed before. And now like I'm going abroad this summer and like I love to travel. And like now kind of all I want to do is see the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Where are you going?
I'm going to Indonesia and Vietnam.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm doing a 4-week global mental health program in Indonesia. And then my family's coming to visit for a week to travel around. And then I'm going to Vietnam for 2 weeks to meet up with some friends and just travel.
Wow. That's cool.
I'm so pumped.
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
You're super ready now. Like you were you weren't ready the first time you went around, but then now it's almost like you're hyper aggressively pursuing these travel opportunities.
Yeah, I think I just, I don't know. This sounds super like white girl and cliche, but like honestly for traveling, like it really is something like spiritual for me, if that makes sense. Like I love meeting new people and seeing the world, and like that's something that I think brings people together and like shows people that we're much more alike than we are different.
Yeah.
So I think it's important if you know you're able to travel to take advantage of it for sure.
Yeah. It definitely gives you exposure. It's a lot harder to hate on someone or dismiss them if you understand that they're the same as you from direct experience.
Well, also it gives you a sense of empathy to experience something. I mean, you know, not that you can experience like different issues or cultural, you know, whatever firsthand, but like at least you get a sense, like you see things that give you that new sense of empathy for people everywhere.
Yeah.
You know?
And conditions are very different in different places.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
100%. But it's good. You know, you have to be exposed to stuff like that or else you can't, A, you can't appreciate what you have, and B, you can't appreciate the world in general and those around you, you know?
What are you studying at GW?
Psychology.
Yeah, psychology. Gotcha.
I'm a sociology minor.
Sociology leaves a bad taste in my mouth.
Why?
Because I'm a hater, basically. But I always wanted to be a math major, but something always went wrong, or I just listened to bad arguments. So now I'm an electrical engineering major. Okay. And as like a STEM major, I am a natural hater of the social sciences. And the reason is very simple. I don't think that the standards are as high for a lot of things.
Yeah.
When it comes to saying this is true, this is a fact.
Right.
As like, you know, experiments in physics. But also, I recognize that it's completely different. It's more like statistical.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I guess in stuff like sociology, psychology, I mean, you really can't.
I actually like
there's not like
psychology
one answer for anything. You know what I mean? It's just like much more abstract, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, it involves like groups of things and false positives and false negatives, and it's like you're never really going to be certain of things.
Right.
Yeah. But anyhow, I think it's interesting that those two interests you mentioned, right? Mm-hmm. Child development, it sounded like, and then addiction. To you, were you saying that the industry or like a career path wise they seem different, or are you saying from your perspective they seem different? Because to me they seem the same.
Both. I mean, career path wise, they are different because
career path wise.
You know, working in a therapeutic setting with young kids, is just like a complete different mode of therapy than addiction work, right? Yeah. And like you work with a totally different population of people.
Yeah.
Totally
a lot of the
time issues.
It's the people who didn't have the work as kids, it seems.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, when you think about it, and like this is not in an offensive way at all, it's just like a huge component of addiction is mental health.
Huge component.
Like everyone, you know, I know you can't ever say like everyone or no one, but like I honestly believe basically everyone with addiction like has some sort of mental health issue. I mean, addiction alone is a mental health issue. That's tied to other mental health issues.
Yeah.
You know? So I'm sure a lot of those kids that grew up in destructive households or whatnot, and who, you know, they don't all turn into addicts by any means at all. But I'm saying, like, some of them, like, if they don't get the help they need, like, do look for it in other ways. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's how addiction starts. Just from, like, using something to cope.
Yeah. Using something to cope. So before I lived in the Domes, you might enjoy this. I actually lived in what is it called? A recovery house. Now, personally, I never struggled with addiction. The way I got into that recovery house was largely like making it through loopholes, and it was cheap housing for me.
Okay.
But because I was in this recovery house, I was really exposed to people who, most of them were successful at like recovering from their addiction, but everyone struggled with addiction, right? So
all college kids?
No,
Young
these were
people?
just regular people. Like, I think we had a guy living in the house who was like in his 60s.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, it was like just out in the normal world recovery house.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I was exposed to is AA meetings, and I want to know, for someone who's been educated in psychology and whatnot and interested in addiction, what do you think about the AA addiction is a disease model, or once an addict, always an addict model? Do you think that that's fact-based, or just it conveniently works, or it's nonsense?
Holy shit.
You know, I honestly do think that it is a disease in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
The same way I think like depression or anxiety or OCD, whatever, bipolar, anything you want.
Bipolar shouts out.
Is it a disease? Yeah, sure. Like, so yeah, I do think it's a disease. I really do. But I think it's, you know, the same in a lot of ways as another disease, like an autoimmune disease, but different in a lot of ways as well. You know, it's just, it's much more complex. There's no one treatment, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that rather than just like, you got sick, here's why, here's what happened to your cells, here's what's in your DNA, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, there's just so many different things that can go into developing a disease like addiction. So it's not really black and white. And that's hard for people to accept and to understand too.
Yeah.
So it's just something much more
Because I definitely like
broad than that and complicated. But to answer your question, yeah, I do think it's a disease, and I do think you struggle for life. I mean, I'm a huge believer in like the law of attraction and like healing and stuff like that. So I think honestly you can be healed from anything, but I think part of that healing yourself is constantly working through those struggles. You know what I mean? I don't think it's just like a snap your fingers and you're recovered.
Yeah. Habit forming is something that's difficult regardless of whether you're an addict or you have some kind of a mental illness or not. And habit forming seems to be a big part of the path to recovery.
It's huge. And what most people don't know is that it only takes 3 days to break a physical habit. 3 days. Physically, you're not addicted to it, or it's not a habit in your body anymore. But it takes 21 days to break an emotional habit. And it takes 6 months to start a new habit. And for it to actually become like a habit.
Right.
Like a habit. You know what I mean?
A habit.
A habit. Like you can do something consistently for 2 months, but like for it to be a habit, 6 months of consistency. But yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. And it really just shows that like your emotional attachment is, at least can be, so much stronger than physical attachment.
Yeah.
In many things.
Do you ever think about artificial intelligence and what that might mean about, the human mind? Do you think we're ever going to be able to replicate the human mind in a machine? Or what do you think of the relationship between psychology and AI?
I just want to be clear, when you're asking that, do you mean like literally replicating the human brain, like a robot almost able to think like we do and whatnot? Like,
I guess so. I mean, so one of the fuzzy pieces is, what if the outputs are the same, but the way that it's arriving at those outputs are different? Then does that count? So kind of like, if it looks like a duck and quacks like a duck, is it a duck, even if it's an AI?
right.
So I would say for now, just that it can have all the same human functions and a human wouldn't be able to tell the difference. So like the Turing test.
And you're asking me like, well then if no one can really tell the difference, it does the same things, is it a human?
No, just do you think we're ever going to get there first? I guess maybe that's what I'm getting at as a final thing. But
Do I think we're ever going to get there?
or do you basically is there something
I
special about the human mind?
Yeah, I think we're not ever going to get there. I think we can get close, and I think we can maybe like down the line in the future develop sciences or structures that can act as humans and be perceived as human behaviors or characteristics, but no, I don't think it's possible. And I guess to go further, I really think each human mind is so unique that there's just no possible way that something alive and so lifelike can be replicated to something that's not conscious. And like, again, not to get all like
What is consciousness?
mumbo jumbo, but like I really think a huge part of your mind and your being is like your spirit is like spirituality. And so that can't be replicated.
Yeah. Even
Right.
if the robots go to church, that's not the same thing.
No. Definitely
Or
not.
a mosque or wherever
I
they
mean,
might go.
don't get me wrong. Like, I think it's great if you want to go to church or a mosque or, you know, temple, whatever. But you have to experience it in a way where like it's one thing to go to church and it's another thing to like experience church or experience a mosque or experience, you know, the earth or meditation, whatever is your thing.
Yeah.
You know, to me, it's all the same. Like it's spirituality, and like it's different to experience it versus to kind of be given a structure where you can like manipulate and replicate it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, the experience is something that probably can't be replicated.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, even if it could, at least to the outsider's perspective, it could seem like they're having that experience, but like inside, that's not their experience. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Inside, there's nothing there.
Sometimes I look in the mirror and think, inside, there's nothing there. Would you ever buy a self-driving car?
I'm sorry?
Would you ever buy a self-driving car?
Wait,
I don't
Just
think
hit
so.
a button and let it drive you. Why not? What if the safety ratings are better than a human driver?
If the safety ratings are better, then possibly, but I think there would be a huge aspect of like fear in it
Yeah.
because people need control.
Yeah.
You know, like I don't think a self-driving car would ever be something that like,
Also, did either of you try?
well, maybe it would sell actually. Actually, yeah, like it totally could sell. I could see that.
Let's revisit that in 20 years.
Yeah.
The children. You want to be a child psychologist half of the time at least, right?
Yeah. I love kids.
Is there anything that you feel triggered this? Like maybe you had a horrible childhood or something. You saw someone get slapped and then you felt bad for kids?
You know, I actually have two little sisters and they're half sisters and they're much younger than me. So one is 13 and one's 7 and I'm 21.
Okay.
And the 7-year-old, I was basically like her second mother. Like our mother is amazing, but like our relationship, like with my sister and I, the baby, is so like motherly, childlike that I kind of feel like another mother figure to her. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I think, you know, she was born when I was 14 and since then, and you know, I even loved little kids before then, but since then, I think that's especially when it started to like grow. Like I love being around kids, you know?
But I mean, if you want, be grateful for what if you want.
I don't know. I mean, I had a pretty good childhood in a lot of ways. There were definitely things that probably weren't good. Well, I know weren't great for like a young child, but that's just part of life, you know? Like things happen and things happen to your parents and things happen to you and things happen to families as a whole. You know, not everyone's,
This is too hot.
I guess no one's childhood is completely perfect, you know?
Right.
So I don't know exactly what it is that made me love kids so much. I know my sisters have a huge part in it. my dad always loved kids. Like, he's always been a goofball, and kind of growing up, watching him, like, get all happy whenever he saw a baby. Like, I would get so embarrassed when I was young, but, like, it's cute, you know?
Yeah.
And I think kind of growing up with in that, you know?
I'm one of those people that hates on kids. I mean,
a lot of college kids are that way.
Right now, kids in my mind exist as like a financial
little
burden.
freaky creatures.
Like somebody just take them to the dog park or something.
Yeah, no. I mean, they are like little animals. Like,
yeah, but I also don't have a lot of experiences in my day-to-day life dealing with kids, and when I do, usually I enjoy the experience.
Oh yeah.
So
there's something about them. It's just so pure, you know? They're just so, I don't know. Like, I could go on and on. Like, they just see the world differently.
Well, you took on a lot of responsibility, it seems like, earlier in your life dealing with children. And I think maybe for you, the realities of dealing with the kids it's solid in your mind, so that for you, it's easy to say the benefits outweigh the detriments. Whereas for someone like me, I don't really have much experience. So it's all in theory, like, oh, well, I mean, what's the cost of a kid? Right?
Oh, yeah. And also, like, A, yeah, what's the cost? And B, like, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I have babysat like little 3-month-olds who will just scream and scream and scream and scream. And like, their scream is so annoying because they're like these little teeny blobs that just like don't know how to make real sounds yet.
Yeah.
I want to rip my freaking face off. I mean, like, yeah, they're a lot, you know, and I'm sure like if I'm ever a mother, like I'll experience like the love-hate relationship, but I don't know. I guess it's easy to say it's all roses when you're just like around kids, but don't really have like the full responsibility.
Yeah. I mean, one of the basic rules of thumb that I go by when it comes to anything is you don't really know if you like it until you've been through the worst parts of it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and then after that, you can say, okay, the benefits are better than the downsides. But if you're only experiencing the up and then you don't know the real cost of the downside, it might turn out, hey, even with these benefits, it's not worth it for me personally to go through with this, because everybody got to take, you know, everything is risky. And everyone has to decide, hey, this is my line. And also, everyone responds differently to different things. You know, you saw your dad respond differently. Maybe it embarrassed you, but obviously there was a lot of joy in seeing kids. Not everybody has that.
Oh, absolutely. For sure.
Okay. You want to wrap things up?
Yeah.
It is time for the most important question in the universe. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Duck or jump?
Jump.
That's right. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.